Hey all, welcome back to the channel. I wanted to do a little bit of a video on DMR and kind of a change of thinking for me on the topic of DMR. When I first got restarted back into amateur radio, somebody had asked me about digital, and I said, I don't know. I mean, I feel like in an emergency, everything's going to come back down to just plain old analog, lowest common denominator, the cheap, equipment that is going to be what's going to win. And part of it is I had the impression that if internet access is out, digital is not going to do any good. And that's only partly true. And let me see if I can explain that. I have learned a little bit more about it, in part because I had posted about a new DMR repeater up on Mount Mitchell, and some of the comments on the post kind of seemed like I had really touched a raw nerve. There are some people that were not very thrilled to hear it, which was a little confusing to me because it wasn't replacing anything. It was just adding to what's already there. But anyway, I have learned a little bit more about it, and one of the things is local repeaters, when they're set up as digital, um, they can be set up as analog too, and so some will be smart and fall back to analog. If they get an analog signal, they'll repeat in analog mode. If they get a digital signal, they'll repeat digital. And so you at least have the ability to, in the local area, still function as a repeater. Whether or not it's analog or digital, it doesn't matter. Now, if it's not configured to roll down to analog, then it's not going to. If it's only digital, it will be only digital. But it will at least be that in its own local area, if that makes sense. Where you lose functionality is if it is bridged to the internet, as many are, you will not be able to access the talk groups that are outside of the local area. And so that makes it basically the same as any other repeater in a crisis. And if it's not linked by RF to another repeater, it's just going to be a standalone repeater. And so that takes away my biggest concern probably about it. My second concern about digital is just my experience from the digital TV transition in the mountains, and that is there were stations that we could get analog. It wasn't a great picture. You could follow it though. You could tell what was going on. And once we made the switch to digital, we didn't get those anymore. It just would not happen. And part of that is in the mountains, you get reflected signals, you get all sorts of weird stuff from the lay of the land. And the digital is kind of harsh when it falls off. It will be a brilliant, wonderful signal until you hit the wall, and then you don't have anything. I mean, it dies quickly, rather than analog, which you gradually fade out into the scratchy noise. But anyway, um, so as long as you've got pretty good signal, you're going to have a nice, clear conversation, which is an advantage, I feel like. Now, for those that are out in the fringe, that's where we start getting creative with antennas and hopefully get directional antennas going. But anyway, so the other advantage to digital is you can multiplex conversations on one repeater. So we can have two time slots, or what they call them in DMR, where you can have two simultaneous conversations on the same repeater, making good use of the bandwidth. Two different talk groups even. Now, one of the things that I'm realizing too that's kind of changing my attitude towards DMR is we have been for the last 10 to 20 years in a situation where internet, initially was dial up, I guess, and then, we had some dedicated lines, ISDN, and some people will remember those. T1 lines were the big fancy ones back in the day. And now cable, and then, DSL was in there somewhere, and cable and fiber are now the big ones. But we're entering the era where a satellite dish, Starlink, and I hesitate to call it a dish because they shape it a little different, and it's much better than the satellite internet of 10 years ago. If you have a good clear view of the sky, the southern sky, and a power source, you're going to have internet. Um, and so thinking about these digital repeaters that are linked to the internet, if the club that supports them wants to pay for a Starlink, or if they work out something where, maybe Starlink gifts a subscription to certain organizations, they will be connected no matter what. I know after the storms here in the mountains, they gave free Starlink for 3 months to everybody in the affected area. I think we're entering a time where internet connectivity is going to be much more available than ever before. And I know we've said that for years, but I really think that we're probably not going to see as many places disconnected for natural disasters as used to be. Fiber lines may get wiped out. Cable lines might get wiped out. Satellite connection, again, as long as we got the southern sky and a power source, we're good. Even car battery. And so that's an ideal fit for remote repeater locations. And we might even have more repeaters than ever before connected to the internet in the next 10 years. And so I think the landscape there is changing. And so I think digital is going to be much more important. And it's kind of the new shortwave in some ways, where you can talk to the other side of the world, even through a handheld through your local repeater. That could be very interesting. I played around some with Brandmeister Hose Line, which you might want to check out if you're a little interested in it. It has a list of all of the top groups that are active. You can tune in to various ones and listen to people making contacts. I've also got a copy of DroidStar installed on my phone that I've been playing around with. And if you set up a DMR ID for yourself, you can use your phone as a digital transceiver and just talk to the world, make contacts as though it was an HT going through a local repeater. It's really pretty interesting. And so the line between connected and not connected, we're rapidly getting to a place where it's going to be hard to be not connected. I really think digital is something you ought to be looking at and thinking about. Unfortunately, a lot of the hardware is more expensive. I get that. That's one reason why I played around with it on my phone before looking at a handheld. But in any case, we're going to have one coming in a few days. It's not the cheapest one out there, which I found one for like $35. Which I didn't go for. The one that I have got coming, I used a gift card and it was $89, I think, 88 somewhere in there. But in any case, we'll see it in a few days. Has GPS and APRS, which I've been looking forward to playing around a little bit with as well, and just see what's available in our area and how useful that could be. Like a lot of things, it's only going to be as useful as the coverage that you've got. And so if there aren't APRS nodes out there to be an iGate or digipeater, it won't do much good. But we'll see. We'll play around and find out. In any case, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you all. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and comment below. If you have had a change of heart towards DMR like I have, were a little reluctant to look at it and now willing to embrace it, or if there's a different digital mode out there that you really prefer. I know some people really like the Yaesu System Fusion setup. I know that's been a really popular one for a few years, but I think DMR is probably starting to take over, I feel like. If I'm wrong, let me know. Thanks all, and you all take care. Thanks.